you.
I am so excited to be with you this morning, and it looks like you're in the nursery.
I am, yeah.
Oh, so you're in the nursery wearing Guns N' Roses. This is
Yeah.
going to be an amazing conversation. Well, so love, let's just start the way I always start. We're just going to go straight into this conversation. Why don't you share how you found yourself on this journey? And we'll start there.
Okay. So I came to this journey maybe a little bit later. I didn't meet my partner. Yeah. I didn't meet my partner till I was 41. And kind of children maybe weren't particularly on the radar before then. I was busy with my career, building my business, and kind of thought, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, that's kind of okay too. So, yeah, I guess it sounds a little bit cliched, but you meet the right person and it kind of changes everything. So I guess after about 18 months together, I was like, yeah, no, this is definitely what I want. So we decided we'd kind of just, give it a go and see what kind of happened. And I think coming into it, I should just go maybe back a step. I'd always had kind of a history. I had a very strong suspicion that I had PCOS. I had a sort of history of kind of very sort of long cycles. They would be incredibly painful. So there was a suspicion of endo as well. But I'd never been able to get any answers. It'd always kind of been dismissed. I'd had various investigations and was just kind of made to feel that I was kind of almost like making it up. It's like I couldn't deal with the pain and my symptoms weren't maybe as bad as I was kind of making out. So I guess I kind of came into it with those kind of doubts in the back of my mind that, actually, can my body even do this? Because I think there might be something going on. My partner needed to have a vasectomy reversal. So we were kind of coming out of COVID. So we had to wait a few months before that could be done. So being kind of type A kind of person, what I decided I would do is use that time kind of wisely. I'm going to research everything. I'm going to find everything out, everything to kind of maximize my chances. And as I started looking into things, I have to say, by this stage, I was 43. I didn't feel 43, whatever 43 should feel like. I didn't feel old. I was fit. I was healthy. Had a fairly active lifestyle. Didn't think that I was too old at all. So yeah, as I started to look into things and you start to research things on the internet, it was so negative. I couldn't find any positive stories at all. All it was about how difficult it was going to be. Or, as you've spoken about, what the statistics are, that, you've got such a low chance. And I knew quite a lot of ladies who'd got pregnant in their 40s. In fact, several of them had 2 children in the 40s. So I knew it was possible, but you kind of just go down this rabbit hole of just all this negative information coming at you. I also kind of made the mistake of going onto one of these forums, and that was just an absolute disaster. So, and even if you found a positive story, it was still kind of like there was still all this negative sort of attached to it, how difficult it would be, and you're going to have all these complications. So by this stage, I think before we'd even actually got to the point to start to try, I was already kind of thinking, well, I don't think this is going to work. So it wasn't a great place to be starting out. Anyway, so we did start trying, and nothing happened. And the months went by and nothing happened. And it's a real kind of downward spiral. I felt really kind of low. I felt my body was letting me down. And I think probably at the lowest point, I just felt like I'd completely failed as a woman. My body just couldn't do what it was supposed to do. And yeah, I think I'd kind of pretty much hit rock bottom with it. And of course, in the back of my mind, it's like, I haven't got any time. Time's running out. I've left it too late. We've beat ourselves up with, why didn't I start sooner? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? So yeah, I was kind of definitely not in a good place. And I can remember just sitting there thinking, something's got to change, and that needs to be me. And it was just sort of like, I had this moment where I thought, well, what child wants to come to a mother who feels like this about themselves? This isn't a happy environment to come to. And like you talk about kind of divine timing, I came across your book on Facebook. It kind of popped up. So I thought, okay, let's give this a go. We kind of, tried everything else, taking all the supplements, changed your diet, you've done all of this other stuff, and nothing's working. So I downloaded your ebook, and I think I pretty much read it all in one go. I was just like, there was a sense of relief that somebody understood what I was going through, because I think it's, until I came across you and your program, I didn't know anybody else that was going through this. Couldn't talk to anybody about it. It just feels a very kind of lonely journey. So I was like, at last, somebody that really understands it. So I started to work through the ebook, and I think I got through the first couple of chapters, and I'm like, no, I need to do this properly. I need to sign up to your program and do this properly. This is so important. It's not just something I can do, like you say, DIY at home. I need to go straight to you. So I think at that point, that was when I contacted you.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. When I think back to your story, Claire, I mean, I remember our first conversation, and just with what you were sharing now, what a massive departure, right? What a massive departure from being 41, meeting the love of your life, like really being excited about what's to come. And then all of a sudden, you start to get scared that none of it's going to happen. Like there's this, here you go from this high of like, okay, I found this amazing life partner and we're going to have a baby, and I don't feel old, to it's too late. It's going to be hard. What are you, crazy? I mean, that would drive anybody mad.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think that the other reason that I kind of contacted you, obviously we tried for several months, nothing had happened. So we got in touch with a fertility clinic. That seemed the next logical step. So we spoke to them, and they kind of ran some tests and things, and it was like, yes, you've got PCOS, and you've probably got endo as well. And I can remember having the discussion with the consultant, and again, they were kind of quite negative about it all. It's going to be really difficult, and I can remember her very clearly saying, your chances of success are between 1% and 2%, and that was pretty shocking at the time. I knew the percentage, the stats weren't going to be, it wasn't like they were going to be particularly high, but I didn't expect it to be quite that bad. And and there was I was kind of just reeling from it. But even though I think as low as I felt and as desperate as I felt, there was that part of me that was like, okay, well, somebody's got to be in that 1% to 2%. So it might as well be me.
Oh my gosh, this is why I love you, Claire, because like, think about that. I mean, think about what it takes. I mean, first of all, the thing I love about you is you innately had a sense of, I can do this, because you didn't feel old.
Yeah.
You also knew for some time that, I might have PCOS, possibly. And I mean, well, as a medical professional yourself, you probably could kind of put some pieces together, but your body was speaking to you, your intuition was speaking to you. And so you had a level of truth that was very different from what the outside world was telling you.
Yeah.
And you still said, okay, I'm going to be one of the 1% to 2% that succeeds here.
Yeah, it just felt it was something that was so important, and they told us how much it was going to cost and everything else. And it was just like, it was kind of a no-brainer to give it a go. It was, I'd rather, what am I going to do? The money's going to be sitting in the bank, but I have no child. So it seemed the only thing to do was to give it a go. And I mean, my partner, he's been amazing. He was always very positive, like, it's going to work. It's going to work. And yeah, I think kind of deep down, I knew that it would work. And it was almost then at that point, it's kind of like, I'm going to prove to the doctor, that I can do this. So yeah, and obviously I thought, and then we were also told, because of your age, you've kind of got one shot at this. And also knowing what I know now, at that point, I probably would have gone, nah, I'll go somewhere else, because you're not kind of really on board with it. But we, at that time, that seemed like it was our only option. So we kind of stuck with it. And so, yes, I think it was November 21 that I started on your program. And that came just at the right time, because we started the IVF cycle January of 22. So, yeah. And I have to say, the program it's life-changing. I know everybody comes on and says it's life-changing, but it really is. It's not just your fertility journey. It's all aspects of your life. There were so many things, good things that happened that were completely unrelated to fertility, but real big changes that, yeah, like I've spoken to you before, like with my business, I can remember talking to you and you said, how much do you want to earn? And I said, and I remember at the time saying the figure and thinking, it'll take years to achieve that. And I did it in less than a year. And
nobody believes me, Claire, when I tell them. I'm like, let's get serious.
Yeah.
The most amazing things can happen in the next year if you're willing to be that woman.
Yeah. So
wow.
we started the cycle, and we went for the egg retrieval. And to any woman who's listening who's over 40, this whole, it's a myth that your fertility drops off the cliff at 40. It's absolute nonsense. 18 eggs collected, and I was 44 at this point.
Okay, so 18 eggs collected at 44.
Yeah. So we had 14 of those fertilized. They all made it to day 5. So they then chose, I mean, some of them obviously weren't going to continue to grow, but they chose the best 3. And we decided to do the PGT testing. And we came back with one that was normal, one was abnormal, and one came back as no result. So we had one normal embryo, and also they put, just one embryo. They put the one with no result, that went on ice as well. So yeah, that was a little bit of a shock at the time, because you thought, well, we've got 14 of those, we're kind of home and dry. And then it suddenly went down to one normal one. And I just remember in my head you've said all along, you only need one. And obviously, because we'd done the PGT testing, the embryos were frozen. So they said, in a couple of months, you'll come back and you'll do the transfer. And I remember as the time was coming up, we'd planned to go on holiday, we'd gone abroad. And I can remember my partner saying to me, well, what about, what if the clinic call and they want to do the transfer? And I said, well, we booked this holiday. I said, well, we'll just wait till the next month. And I never, it was kind of like, it just to kind of go, yeah, okay, we can wait another month. The pressure had been taken off.
44, Claire, you were saying we can wait another month at 44. Can you, did you have a head transplant?
Like quite possibly. So anyway, we went and we had a holiday. We had a great time. And also the other thing, we did kind of fairly recently, we kind of put together all this collage of tickets and photos and, you know, kind of sort of memories, places that we'd been, and we were kind of going through everything from that year. And we did more in that year than we'd ever done.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's like, you know, what I love about what you're sharing here is really demonstrating to the women listening that you can take a step back and you can start creating this bigger vision for your life that includes baby, but is not dominated by the fear, doubt, negativity, misery, and all of the things we get bombarded with on this journey. Because, I mean, with a 1% to 2% chance of succeeding and already 44, I mean, like, it would have been really easy for you to just crawl under a rock, right? When it came to this dream, but you didn't. Your business was booming. You decided to go on a holiday. You decided you could take your time. I mean, this is incredible. And you stayed focused on the 1% to 2% chance that you could, instead of the 98 to 99% chance that you couldn't.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, so let's talk about, like, what happened post holiday. So here you come back, had a wonderful time on holiday. You made this beautiful collage for this baby. I mean, what an amazing thing you're going to be able to show them.
Yeah. This is
what happened after that.
So we came back, we contacted the clinic, and interestingly, I always listen to your podcast every week, and I'd heard one of you other ladies talking about the ERA test. And this was a while, this before we'd even started the IVF, and I remember thinking, I've never heard of that, but that kind of sounds like it could be a really good thing to do. And I'd kind of gone away and researched it. And we spoke to the consultant, and she was like, have you heard of the ERA test? And I was like, yes. Can we do that? And she was like, yep, that's absolutely fine. So obviously you kind of do another cycle. So again, it takes more time. But I had this real feeling, because I knew, and I'm sure like all of your ladies on this journey, you kind of get to know your own body and your own cycles so well. And I knew they were kind of quite long, and I felt that they were possibly going to transfer too early, because I know you're on all the drugs and everything to kind of, you know, get everything in sync, but I just still felt my body needed an extra day or two. So we did the test, and it came back, we needed to do the transfer a couple of days later. So
your body really speaks to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also just being able to kind of go to the doctor and say, actually, we do want to do this. This feels like this is really the right thing to do, because it would have been so easy to have been kind of like, oh my God, we've got this far, let's just transfer. And it was like, no, let's do this test. And again, that was, I think, probably another sort of, by the time you've done the whole cycle and everything, it's a couple of months gone. So we got, and the funny thing was the results took ages to come back. We were told they'd be back within a couple of weeks. They took 6 weeks. So I
remember that. I remember when that was happening, and we're like, this is crazy. Why would it take this long? Yeah.
So obviously, because they took so long, we'd missed another cycle, which was it was frustrating, but also I just thought, you know, this is out of my control. I don't know why the lab are taking so long. And also I thought, you know, it's another month, just give my body a chance to recover from everything that's being done. So we did the transfer in October of 22. And we'd actually planned to go away for a few days. So we're like, no, we'll still go and do that. And we'll just come back to the clinic, you know, kind of halfway along in our holiday. And I think, I'm not sure I've spoken to you about it before, but you know, you always talk about things they don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be 100%. So on the morning of the transfer, we had breakfast at a well-known fast food outlet. So It wasn't like this super healthy breakfast or anything. Anyway, off we went to do the transfer, and there had been a bit of a miscommunication. It said on my paperwork, you need to wait in your car, because it was still kind of, they were still kind of working under COVID restrictions. And we'll call you. So we sat there and we waited, and it got to the appointment time and there was nothing. We went up to the door. We couldn't find anybody. We called. Yeah, it's kind of like now sort of getting half an hour past the appointment time. They finally called and they're like, "Where are you?" And we're like, "Where are you?" So we got taken in. And of course, you're kind of really flustered, because, you're like, this is not how I wanted it to be. I wanted to be really calm and relaxed. So they were pretty good. They were like, "Look, just take 5 minutes, just kind of relax." And the doctor that did the procedure was she was great. So kind of had to get grounded quite quickly. So they did the transfer, and off we went. It's a bit of a surreal experience, but so we carried on with our holiday. We went out that evening. We went to the theatre, and I just thought, we're just going to keep doing what we do. We're not going to do anything different. And yeah, so we waited the 10, 11 days, whatever it was. And I have to say that, I mean, it was the longest 10 or 11 days. And I was convinced my period was coming. I'd got all the cramps. I'd got everything. And I'm like, oh, this isn't good. This isn't good. And I finally broke, and I did the test about 24 hours early. I just thought, I just need to know. And it was positive, which is just incredible, absolutely incredible.
Claire, like I love that you took the time and had the generosity of heart and spirit to say that things didn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's so massive, because to the women listening, like it's like sometimes we get into this place where we get superstitious, we get really controlling and worried. It's funny, one of the other women that was in the program almost around the time you may remember her, because her podcast is going to come out a little bit before yours. She saw a black cat run by, and all the insane superstition. Oh, this must mean it's not going to work. It's we go back to, like, when we're in fear, we go back to that place. But I love how you're just sharing, like, yeah, it wasn't perfect. We had a fast food breakfast and it was probably freaking delicious. And then you went to this crazy appointment where, like, nobody knew where you were, confusion, but you at least had the presence of mind to say, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I'm here, and got comfortable, relaxed, and then just went about your business and went about having this incredible getaway with your partner, and you got pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah.
With your one embryo.
Yeah.
With your 1 to 2% chance of this working, with PCOS and Endo at 44.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm now 45. So yeah.
Wow. How does it feel, Claire, to be on the other side of this? I mean, well, how many weeks pregnant are you now?
37 today.
37. Ooh, that little one. You're going to be seeing that little one soon. But, like, so tell us, like, what is it like to be on the other side of this? What did you learn about yourself? Like, what's the thing that you're taking away from this that you learned about yourself in this whole process?
I think that there were so many things, but I think certainly for me, kind of the main thing was asking for what I wanted, whether that was from my partner, my friends, the doctor, and having that conviction when, something feels right to go for. If it doesn't feel right, to say, hang on, that's not for me. One of the things I've found, because, obviously when you're trying to get pregnant, getting pregnant is obviously, you kind of feel that that's the end goal. And it is to a certain extent, but obviously then there's a whole new journey, to to getting this baby here. And one of the things that I've really found that having done the program with you has really helped is because being that little bit older, you know, the doctors, the medical care, you know, it's all very much centered around how old you are, and we want to do this and we want to do that. One of the things that did happen was that the placenta was kind of low lying, and they were talking, well, we want to do a C-section at 36 weeks. And what we're going to do is we're going to put you on steroids for a couple of weeks beforehand. And I just went, no, you're not. You're not doing that. That doesn't feel right to me.
Mama Bear's in the house.
Let's just wait a little bit longer. Can we wait a couple of weeks and have another scan? And they were like, they kind of reluctantly agreed to it. And yeah, we had the scan in a couple of weeks and the placenta's moved. And even if it hadn't, it was just like, no, let's just let this baby, you know, cook for a little bit longer and let nature take its course. So that's, I think, yeah, certainly now kind of sort of leading up to birth and things, you know, being very sure about what you want and about what's right for me and what's right for my baby is really important. And it's very easy, you know, like you say, the people in the white coats to kind of just go along with it because we think that they, you know best. And I'm not saying that their concern doesn't come from a good place, but it's also, you have to do what's right for you as well. And I think, you know, now, you know, even if they roll their eyes at me and the rest of it, it's kind of like, no, I'm going to do what's right for me. And I think that's kind of one of the biggest takeaways from it.
Yeah. And it's, you know, and it's very difficult to explain this to women when they're in fear, but hopefully in the context of what you're sharing about your experience, you cannot underestimate the power of your own intuition and your own knowing and your own connection to this baby, right? Like, you're 100% right. Like, chances are they're coming from a good place, and that's wonderful. But this is your body. This is your baby. Nobody knows better than you, right? Like, you've had this connection with this child for 37 weeks. And not only that, you know your own body. You've gotten to know your cycle with a level of intimacy that most people never get to know their body, right? As women who have lived this journey, we know stuff about ourselves that we never thought we would know, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you're sharing that because it's such a powerful message, you know, and I hope that everyone listening will remember one embryo, 1 to 2% chance, 44. You took the time. You didn't take their fear on board. It's like, I want to scream, their fear is not your fear, Claire, right? Like, you didn't feel that.
Yeah. And I think kind of leading on from that is, you know, just developing that belief in yourself that you can do this. Like you say, despite what everybody else is saying, you can do it. And it's not something that happens overnight. And for me, I think, you know, I finished your course, I think it was the January of 22. And it really took me probably another 6 months after that to really, you know, and kind of just doing the work every day, really working on your mindset to get to a point where I knew this was going to work. And I didn't necessarily mean that it was going to work with this transfer, but, you know, I knew that if it didn't work, yeah, that would be disappointing. That would be sad, but I'd pick myself up again and we'd find another clinic and we'd go again. And you just get that level of resilience. And like you say, it's not to say that you're not going to be disappointed. You're not going to be sad, because sometimes things just don't work out. But also knowing kind of in your heart that, you know, you can keep going, that this is meant for you. And, you know, regardless of what the journey throws at you on the way, you will find a way to do it. You know, all of your ladies have proved that, you know, there is always a way.
I mean, 100%, Claire. And look, you had made an internal decision to be successful. And women hear me say this all the time. Nobody wants to believe me. but until you're living it, until you see it enough times, you're like, oh, okay, there's something to this. But you started November 2021.
Yeah.
By October 2022, you were pregnant.
Yeah. So within
that's roughly, it's like you, but that's not me. That's you. It's who you became. It's who you decided to be. You decided to not focus on the statistics. You decided to not feel old. You decided to not take on their fear. You decided to trust your instincts with the ERA test and, your own knowledge of your body. You decided when, you were pregnant that you're going to live your life. You're going to continue to live your life. You also decided that you weren't going to allow them to force you to do a C-section at 36 weeks. You want this baby to keep cooking. And look at you now in your baby's nursery, in a Guns N' Roses t-shirt, like gorgeous mane of hair. Like, I mean, could you be living a better life? Like, it's amazing. And on top of that, you grew your practice. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. There was so many changes, and then that's why it's life changing, because it's not just your fertility journey. It's not just getting pregnant. It's everything else that comes along with it. Kind of improved finances, improved relationships, and just getting that bit of fun and bit of joy back in your life, because this journey, it can just suck it out of you so easily if you're not careful. And whilst the IVF process, it can be difficult, I didn't feel, I kind of really made a conscious decision when going into it. I'm not going to let this get on top of me. I'm going to enjoy this. Yeah, I'm having to jab myself every day, but hey ho, it's not a big deal. I'm not going to let this get me down. And there was some days were harder than others, I'm not going to lie, but it is possible to go through this journey, however you're doing it, and still have that fun, still have that joy in your life. And we need that. That's really important.
Well, and I think you're raising another incredible point, is that having a strong mindset doesn't mean that you have no feelings. It doesn't mean that you're in this bizarre state of constant positivity. I mean, because positivity is not enough.
No.
You really got to a place of belief. And to have that resilience to say, okay, yeah, I might get punched in the face a couple times, but you know what? I can take a punch, and I'm ready for this because this dream really matters to me. I mean, that's massive. Well, I'm so grateful to you, Claire, for not only inviting me into your life in the way that you did, because it is an honor. I mean, you always hear me. I mean, you listen to the podcast, so you know how I feel about you. You know how I feel about every woman that I get to work with, because it's experiences like yours where a woman finds herself again, finds her power, but also finds within her the ability to create the foundation for the family that she desires. Because think about it, when this baby's born, you and your partner are on the same page. You know where you're headed. You feel confident in your work. You feel confident in your decision making. You feel confident in your body. Like that is the foundation of a very well-lived life.
Yeah.
And think about what you're going to be able to teach them.
Yeah. I think it just takes everything to a whole new level, and definitely my confidence has increased massively. It's like, I can do this. I can do anything. We're looking at trying to build a new house now, and things, it's like, well, why not? Everything else is going to be easy after this, Yeah.
You manifested a life, Claire. So everything else is a piece of cake, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Claire, for sharing your experience, sharing what's true for you on this journey. And I know that you are going to be changing so many lives with just what you shared here and getting women fired up, getting them inspired. Was there anything else that you wanted to share? Because this story is about you. So
yeah, there was one more thing. First of all, I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Roseanne, because it has been transformative. Nothing less than that. And for all the work that you do, it means so much. And secondly, I still listen to your podcast every week, and I remember, regularly listening to it, and even sort of in the darkest days listening to it. And what I would say to anyone else who's listening is, if I can do it, then you can do it. I don't have any superpowers. It is, a lot of it's just hard work and grit and determination, and just keep going. If, like you say, that desire's in your heart, you just keep going and you find a way. And just never give up on it.
That's beautiful, Claire. That's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I cannot wait for the ladies listening to just gobble this up.
Thank you, Roseanne. Thank you so much.
Love this episode of the Fearlessly Fertile podcast? Subscribe now and leave an awesome review. Remember, the desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. When it comes to your dreams, keep saying hell yes.